Right, then I would like to call this HR meeting to order, and I'm going to turn it right over to Michelle O'Reilly. Thank you.
Thank you. I have the large microphone. I don't know why. There's just a few policies on tonight's agenda for your consideration that are for review, of course, and then possibly would appear on the April agenda for a first reading, an opportunity for any changes to be made, and then possible approvals at the May meeting. Item A under 3, new
Michelle,
business.
I hate to interrupt you. I should have asked if there was any public comment.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
There is not.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Check. Okay. Board policy number 305 is for your consideration. It's the employment of substitutes. This policy applies to substitutes who are directly employed by the district. It does not include contracted services. Contracted services is covered under policies 818. This policy would cover employees that are like custodial substitutes, secretarial substitutes, cafeteria aide subs, those type of substitutes that we employ directly. It was previously titled or numbered policy 405. It now has a new number of 305 per PSBA's recommendation and a new title and language that would include what was part of the attachment that appears of what the requirements, including current statutory requirements of all criminal clearances that must be included for anyone who's been employed by the district. 2 items were struck out on this particular recommendation from PSBA. One being that the board would approve these names annually. That is not something that is our practice. We approve substitutes as they begin employment of hire, and then as they would resign their employment with the district, they would appear on a subsequent board agenda for final approval. And then also struck through on this particular item under delegation of responsibility is that the superintendent or designee would recommend the retention of the board's approved substitute list for those substitutes who have satisfactorily performed their duties. And again, we would continue their employment unless, of course, there were something of concern, which would be addressed by myself and Dr. Christian along the way. And that is board policy number 305. Do we have any questions about board policy 305? No. Thank you. All right. Under policy deletions, there are 2 policies that are being recommended for deletion. One is the appointment of doctors and dentists. This was formerly policy 402. For those of you that are new to the board, we used to have categories of 300, 400, and 500s that represented employment in the district, and PSBA has consolidated them all to 300s. So that's why some policies that were originally in the 400s or 500 categories now all appear in the 300 categories. And this particular policy is recommended by PSBA to be deleted since it's not considered a policy. You might recall that annually, Dr. Christian presents to the board an approval. It's typically done in June for the approval of doctors and dentists that perform duties of the district. Last June, for the 2021-2022 school year, Dr. Glenn Miller, if you recall, was approved for this school year. He had a 0% increase, and his annual retainer with the district is $1,886. Drexel Medical Group, who performs sports physicals and attendance at home football games, was approved as well for this school year at $131 per attendance and per physical that are performed. And then lastly, the dentist, Dr. Esther Smith, was approved for the school year for $3.60 per student that she sees for dental services. So that board policy is being recommended to be deleted since it is separate and apart approval process and not a policy.
I'm just going to chime in real quick for our
Sure.
newer school board members. When you see 1966 on there, I don't want you to think that the school district has not cared about the policies since 1966. Yes. So keep in mind, like, a lot of these policies are just sort of mandated from the state, and it's just like, this is something that you have to do. And so the way that the district does it, it's always getting done, but it's never really needed to change, right? Because it's something that always gets done. So it does and can look like, what the heck, but it's not as bad as it seems. I
And you see
promise.
that most of them are like 1 or 2 line
Yeah.
policies, that everything else is administrative.
Right. The actual function
Right.
of.
Yeah.
And then the last item that is recommended for deletion, policy 302, which was listed as chief school administrator as executive officer of the board. Also a policy that the board, that PSBA has recommended fall under another category, that of the 000 policies, which is listed under 003 of functions, where it identifies that the board shall exercise its executive power by the appointment of the district superintendent, who shall enforce the statutes of the Commonwealth, the regulations of the State Board of Education, the policies of the board, and all other applicable laws and regulations. Do I have any questions regarding that deletion? Is the board in agreement with allowing these policies to move forward for first reading on the April agenda? Thank you. And that concludes my section.
All right. Any board comments? Any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay, then meeting is adjourned. Thank you.